Mr. Halloran Hill, and Mr. David Person. They would join me at this time.
Good morning, family. I want to make everybody in the room feel even better than they feel right now. Turn to the person next to you. Say these words sincerely. You look good today. And here is your commission from Take 6. If you would turn to the person next to you and say, spread love. How many of you love Take 6? Well, it's such an honor to be here in a place. I attended Oakwood Academy, and it is an incubator of dreams, and it honors dreams come true, and that's what we're doing today. In our galaxy, there are 400 billion stars. The Milky Way, it is 100,000 light years across. A light year is the distance you could travel in a year if you could travel at the speed of light, which is 186,000 miles per second, or New York to LA 60 times a second. And if you didn't disintegrate, it would take you 100,000 years to get to the other side. Of those 400 billion stars, there's one called the sun. It's 93 million miles away. You can see it with the naked eye. It will roast your skin. And we live on a tiny blue marble that is a speck in our galaxy. They say it is a grain of sand in the biggest stadium you could imagine. On that marble are 7.5 billion people. 100 billion have lived there, 320 million in America. The chances of being born in this galaxy are 1 times 10 to the 2.6 millionth power. The chances of you being born are not 1 in a million, it's 1 times 10 to the, and the reason I'm saying this is because every person that has ever existed had to be exactly who they are for you to be here. And out of that infinite galaxy of people, they were only able to find 6.
That's right.
Just 6.
Just 6.
Just 6. So today, we, Dave and our great friends, are here to honor our deep friends, Take 7. And I will explain. We were Take 6's first managers. Aren't you glad we failed? Aren't you glad you would have been stuck.
You'd still be Alliance.
Right.
Picture that.
But we were working on an acrostic that would kind of describe who they really are, T-A-K-E. In order for you to harmonize, you have to do one thing. You have to work together. Thank you for showing us and modeling us what it means to be together. And togetherness is never easy, but it's always essential.
That's right. And in addition to working together, you have to aspire to something higher. Now, I remember, and I'm a little bit older than Hal, so he may not know anything about this, but I remember 1979 seeing Claude, Freddie, my classmate, Michael, the third brother, and then little Brian singing at the Hyde Park SDA Church in Chicago as the McKnight Brothers. And I know that at that particular time, I, as a young person, somebody who was just 16, 17 years old myself, looked at those guys and thought, that's incredible. They're my age, or at least 1 or 2 of them are my age, and they're singing in a way that I can't even imagine. I also understand now, in retrospect, this, that in order to move from being the McKnight Brothers, Claude, to becoming Take 6, and in fact, even though we're honoring 3, let's get the other 3 up here now. Stand behind your brothers. Stand behind your brothers. That at some point, aspiration had to kick in. So there's togetherness, but there is also this great need for people to aspire to something better, something greater, something beyond themselves. And when Claude formed Take Six, his initial thought was, you know, I'm just a trombone player, really. I just like to play the trombone, but I can do music, I can sing, and I don't want to sing by myself. So I'm going to get some guys to sing with me. He aspired to something greater.
Wow. So with the aspiration, then what is the ultimate goal? It is the building of the kingdom. And Christ said, I wish that they would all be one. So in their harmony, they display, because every one of these guys is a beast and a genius in their own regard. It takes a certain measure of humility to take your incredible skill and decide to use it in a collaborative way for the building of the kingdom. I was shaving one morning and I was watching one of Oprah's masterclass lessons, and Usher was talking about how he learned to sing. And Usher said, I listened to Take Six. He said, that's how I learned to sing. Jacob Collier recently said, I listened to Take Six. Quincy said, I listened to Take Six. If they paid royalties on inspiration, they'd be trillionaires. And at the same time, they are giving them the kingdom and they don't even know it.
And speaking of giving them the kingdom, Cedric Dent, former member, told me years ago something I've never forgotten, and that is, and I need y'all to hear me on this. These men, Take Six, have been doing for years a kind of evangelism that no preacher, no teacher, no even choir could ever do. Frontline ministry is what Ced and I were talking about, frontline ministry. A great example of frontline ministry is going into a country like Japan, where the principal religion is Shintoism, and taking the gospel of Jesus Christ through song to people who don't even know necessarily what you're singing, but they can feel the spirit and the power of what you're singing. And then as you were singing, giving that testimony. So much so that because of Take Six, there are Japanese people today who are Christians, as frontline ministry. Now, the E in Take Six, excellence, excellence. And you know that you have excellence when, as I was years ago in the city of Havana, Cuba, and I'm in a restaurant with some other journalists, and a waiter comes up to me and says, "You from America?" Like, yeah, I'm from America. And God is my witness. I would not say this in the church if it were not true. The first thing this man said to me after asking me that was, "Do you know Take Six?" That is not an exaggeration, that is the truth. But that is a testimony to excellence. That they could go from being the Gentlemen's Estates Quartet, or even before that, the McKnight Brothers Quartet, to being the GE Quartet, to being Alliance, and then no thanks to Hal and me, becoming Take Six. And having such a strong, solid reputation that even in Cuba, one of the most socially closed off countries in the world at that time, that they had a reputation and a fan base for excellence, so much so that they were the first American group just last year. After President Obama opened it up, they were the first American group to perform in Cuba. Take Six.
So, guys, we are here today, not only as your brothers and friends, but as a congregation in the community to say two things. Thank you,
Yes.
and we love you.
Yes.
And I said earlier that we were here to honor Take Seven. You know, the physicists have been trying to figure it out. They get down to the elemental level and they find neutrons, protons, electrons, but they can't figure out what's holding them together. What I know is everybody calls you Take Six, but you really are Take Seven, because God has been with you the whole way, holding you together. So ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Oakwood Academy and this community, join me in honoring Take Six.
After all that, I just have to say I'm grateful to God. I'm grateful to you. I'm grateful to the Academy. Did you know that I was still at the Academy when this group started? It started when I was in my senior year. And I'm not going to take a lot of time because it's getting long today. But thank you so much. If it weren't for God, we would not still be here. And by his grace, we are still up on this stage. Thank you.
We're going to hear from them in just a moment, but let's give all of our honorees a big round of applause.